Hey, yo, you tuned in to CRE8 Force, where we create and dominate. That's Kai Billings. I'm Mike Sarge. Today, we have a special guest with us that we're really excited to have here. Please join us in welcoming to CRE8 Force, David Satchell. We know him as Satch. Satch, how are you?
I am fantastic. You know what? Thank you so much, Sarge, for having me on. And Kai, this is an important time to really have great discussions. And what I know about Create Force, I think I got really excited about today. So thank you for having me on.
For sure, for sure. No, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. And we're excited to really chat with you today. Now, for anyone watching who may not know who you are, can you just share a little bit about yourself and what got you started on this journey?
Cool. So thank you. So the private me is the second part of me, but the public me is I'm David Satchell. I was a chief master sergeant, and I served in the Air Force for 30 years. And I finished my service at the Pentagon, and I was an enlisted cabal for the Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force, number 18, Khalid Wright, and General Goldfein, and Secretary Wilson. That's who I was. Now there's the private me, which is, a Philadelphia Eagle fan, a a really, really big time introvert, someone that loves people, has a small circle, plays golf all the time,
Mhm.
and I spend time with my family, and I value my retirement time where we vacation and play golf as much as possible. But that's me in a nutshell. Mhm.
Awesome. No, that's great. So we'll start there actually. So like after serving, in the Air Force and now really leading, doing leadership consulting and things like that. We want to start it off by asking, what challenges did you face transitioning from like military leadership principles to more of the corporate world and how you navigated that?
Mhm. Wow. Right from the start. And so, I had to find out who the hell David Satchell was.
Mm,
And because, the I joined the Air Force at 19 and I didn't have an identity then, right? The Air Force gave me one, and they put on a uniform and they said, wear this and you are this AFSC. And then I navigated those waters for 30 years, and then it dropped me off. And then they took the identity away, and there I was, like I was when I was 19, like, okay, who am I now? Um, I, I did learn over the time while I was serving, that it was important just to be me and I wouldn't be anybody else. And so as I transitioned to to the civilian world and into the corporate work environment, I said, okay, who is that person? And I started to list who that person was. And so that is a person that really works hard, has a strong work ethic, that values family, and will treat people like people. And so I went into Amazon, and that was a really tough water to really channel because that work environment was really really difficult and arduous. And so to treat people like people was really hard. And I had to then challenge myself. Do I really value those things? And so that was that short time I spent at Amazon, because I said, okay, I'm not going to betray my values so that I can work at this tough environment
mm.
and make good money. But it was real important that I really just stick to who I was. And that was a person that treated people like people and loved on people. Mhm.
Mm. No, that's good, and I'm glad that you kind of spoke to the like the identity piece,
Mhm.
because who you are and just your personal experiences can shape so much of not just the person you are, but like the journey that you take.
Yeah.
And I wanted to like continue on that. Like, can you kind of elaborate on how personal experiences shape effective leadership?
There was three major points that I want to speak to, two of them that I think are important to the question that you asked. And when I was a staff sergeant, my hair was on fire. I mean, I literally was doing anything that I wanted to do. I was a really good worker, and so no one ever challenged me. And so I was then stationed in Las Vegas, Nevada, and I had a troop. His name was Pablo, and Pablo was a virgin from Lompoc, California, brand spanking new, no stripes, and he was assigned to me. But I mean, like I said, that never changed. I still love people, but I was just into me. And this point that I was raising this young kid who was brand new to the service, he got himself into a little bit of trouble trying to duplicate the things that I was doing. And so, while I'll
Mm,
keep the story short, but while I was deployed, I found out about some of the things he was doing, and I came back to a court martial for Pablo, and
mm,
Pablo ended up being court-martialed and choosing to get out instead of going to jail. And then right after that, my commander called me into the office and said, um, "I don't think that you're mature enough to be a tech sergeant." I was a tech select, and at that point, I got my line number for tech sergeant removed. That was that was huge. I mean, like every emotion that you can think of really flowed through me, and to the point that I was like, well, I'm getting out of here, they don't deserve me, blah blah blah. And then over some time and my having a great supervisor, um, I decided, okay, you need to relax. And but that was such a black eye that I took, but it was such a learning lesson, Mike, that I took this L, but I had to also acknowledge that, yeah, I wasn't mature enough. Huge point for me. And then the second time was when I was a master sergeant, and I had to lead some people that were all my age group. They were my peers, and I just so happened to have the most seniority, but not by much. And they were a challenge, and I had to decide on who I was going to be for them, and would I make tough calls to the point that I led a master sergeant select out the door, and that was a really hard thing for me. But why does that matter to optimal performance? Because if I didn't choose to say that, yeah, I'm and acknowledge my immaturity, then I would have allowed other people to make really bad decisions along with me because they saw the things that I were doing, even though that I was succeeding through the Air Force. And then also, if I didn't make the tough calls about this Master Sergeant Select that I recommended for discharge, if I didn't make that call, then the people around me who knew that I needed to have that level of courage, it would change the environment for them. And so those are huge points for me. And that's kind of made me who I am today.
First, just thank you for sharing that, especially now, because we preach on how it's not a one strike Air
Mm-hmm.
Force. And you were the example of that. You went from getting that line number removed to the SimSAF CSAF's office. So I
Yeah.
don't, for everyone out there hearing this, like if that doesn't show that you can overcome some bit of adversity, like I don't know what'll show you.
Yeah.
But during these tough times, whether it's navigating the arduous times at Amazon or having this pivotal moment in your career, how did you recenter yourself? Because my guess is that you just didn't immediately like bounce in and apply the feedback. You probably had to do some soul searching through the process.
Oh yeah.
So
So
what
I
did
was
you
mad as
do?
hell, Kai, for a long time. Trust me. Uh, I mean, I'm giving you a good story, but
Yeah.
man, I was angry. And this
Mm-hmm.
was during a time where your records go 10 years back rather than 5, right? So for the next 9 years, I had this thing sitting on my record, and it was really hard. But I had an amazing supervisor, Lorenzo Bethea, who put his arm around me and said, okay, let's go do it. Because they knew the talent that I had, but the immaturity was not there. And so thank God for Lorenzo Bethea. But I also, through those years, I had to humble myself, right, in true crow, and watch a lot of people that were speeding along in their career like me go just bypass me because I just couldn't get promoted. So I learned a lot during that time, and but I came back to, okay, uh, who's David Satchell, and what am I going to be, and how do I eliminate those kind of ugly
Hmm.
things that I have participated in, and be me. But the story's good. In the end, I end up being a command chief. But those kind of stories lead you to understanding other people and allowing you to give other people chances too. So, like you were saying, hey, yeah, there's you can make a mistake and still get back up. You'll have to chew crow a little bit, but you can get back up, and I'm a testament that could happen. So, mhm.
So does that mindset then lead into your golf game? Like,
Oh
how's your
yeah.
long shot versus your short game?
So I am I am such a gambler, right? And I want to bet on every damn thing. And so yeah, so playing golf, taking risks when you need to, I've taken those risks in my life, in my golf game, for my family. Not I haven't risked my family, but for my family, I've taken risks. For my airmen, I've taken risks, choosing uh, a more junior airman to lead a particular task over someone that's more senior. I've taken those risks for them. So yeah, those kind of things have bled into the rest of my life and my thought processes. Mhm.
For you, what are skills or traits that you personally look for in someone that's leading either you or leading teams?
Someone that's going to speak candidly to me, someone that's going to tell me that I have a blind spot. Uh, those are important people, and our ego can get in the way when a subordinate person tells you about one of your blind spots. You can get all upset and fire back at them, but those kind of people I trust because they had enough courage just to speak up. And today's Air Force, we need courage more than we need anything. We need airmen that's going to speak truth to power. We need people that are saying, I know how to do this. Just give me a chance. Matter of fact, I recently posted maybe a week or so ago that trust is connected to everything. And we got to know that. And so when you see your team, your organization, your flight that's are underperforming, the first thing I go, what's the level of trust we have in our organization, right? Because if there's trust, then they will have courage. If there's trust, they will step out. If there's trust, they will innovate. If trust, they will take accountability. And those are important points that I think people need to recognize before they start to fix the puzzle pieces that go together. Maybe they should think about, do they trust me or this team? And if they do, then you could see the performance really change. And so we live by that principle. And as a coach and as a trainer in seminars, workshops, that's the first thing we talk about with just about everything. What's the level of trust and how do you build it? Let me say a part two for you, okay, Sarge? So there is this. I think it's the LinkedIn founder created this formula, says that trust equals consistency over time. Well, I agree with 1,000%, but I went
Mhm.
back and I kind of shifted it a little bit, and I put trust equals consistency over time times the nth degree of risk. So if
Mm.
I'm willing to follow my sword, but I need less amount of consistency because people are going to trust me because I did that thing, right? I fell on my sword for them. But when the conditions are um, not really ripe for risk, and I'm being maybe vulnerable just because, when there's no need to be vulnerable, maybe it still requires that I am more consistent in being vulnerable so I can build trust.
You seem to have like a lot of insights on just foundational things, like the foundation. You can't move without the foundations, without the,
That's
the
right.
basics. And so it makes me wonder, like, what is something that you wish as a leader you knew sooner?
Oh, wow. Wow, that's a powerful question. And I just started thinking, I'm like, wow, that is so deep. And I think that if I read more,
Mm,
um, if I understood people to with more depth, like the psychology of people. If I understood that more, so then I could be more culturally competent, so that um, I could be more empathetic. If I understood that, people with that level of depth, I think I would have been even better. I mean, I think I'm a good friend and I could connect to people, but if I understood how the brain operates and what their inclinations are, what's the human inclination, I think I would have been better off serving a wider swath of people besides the people that tend to just kind of be in my circle. Um, and those are, people that quilt, people that play Dungeons and Dragons, people that of course, I'm an athlete, so that's the easy part. But those other peripherals that I wish I was able to kind of understand how they operate a little bit more. I think I could have built a better culture for them if I understood that more.
So, with that, Satch, when did you really start reading in your career then, or picking up the book to learn more?
Yeah. so Kai, I was the worst imposter, right? I would go to Senior NCO Academy and I would see all these people reading these books. And so I would go, okay, let me go on Amazon. I order this book, right? And I wasn't a real reader, but because they were doing it, it seemed like there was some sex. I said, well, let's just read it. And then I go, this is actually pretty good, right? But the reason why I say I'm an imposter because, you know, I lived with a lot of self-doubt. I mean, all the way through my entire career, because the number of people to the left and right of me were so talented. At least that's how I felt. And it made me feel like I needed to be something else or act like someone else or, have different kind of swag or whatever so that I could gain kind of the following that they had. But when when I acknowledged that I was being an imposter, and then that the books actually that I was reading made sense to me and they were really challenging me and growing me, man, that just really changed everything. And then I could just drop the imposter and now just be me, but now a person that's in development, back on my journey. You know, sometimes you think after you put on chief, okay, I've arrived here, but there is so much more that's needed from me as a chief that I didn't just have in my portfolio. And that came from reading more, learning more about people and leadership. Mhm.
That's fantastic. In the last year, is there one book you could recommend for the audience to check out if they haven't already?
Okay. So I can't tell you one, but I can tell you two. And
Okay.
that is one book is Leadership and Self-Deception by the Arbinger Institute. By far, it is the best book that I've ever read on leadership. And it really talks about, you know, being inside the box or being inward minded and, thinking about you and the things that you have to do. And then there's everybody else. And that to some point that you betray your own values so that you can take care of you and push everybody else to the side. My daughter calls it curving somebody, I guess. And so, and then there is the other book is Think Again by Adam Grant, and Think Again talks about what he says, and I have it on my wall right here. It says, "Think like a scientist, ask more questions." Right, and sometimes we have opinions about things. We've learned about things, and they have structured who we are, and we get locked in on opinions, and we don't even allow when there's new information, that's brought to the table to consider it because our opinions are so locked in with us that we won't budge from them. And to learn more, ask more questions, be more curious. That book by Adam Grant is fantastic. So yeah, I would offer that to you. Those two books. Mm.
Yeah, it reminds me of like certain conversations we have of when they say check on your people. That's not just checking on the ones that we consider to be like the troubled airmen or the problem
Yeah.
airmen. That includes our potential, our
Hmm.
superstars.
Yeah.
That
Sure does.
those are the ones that need it just as much.
I tell people to, in the leadership discussions with frontline supervisors, like put your people on your to-do list.
Mm,
And oftentimes when you look at your to-do list, and I'll always ask them, I was like, show me what's the top three things on your to-do list. And they'll like email this person, do this particular EPB, all these same normal tasks that we do day to day.
mhm,
And I'm like, you're a leader of people, right? And they go, well, yeah. I was like, well, what about John, who's really having a tough time integrating into the team? Maybe we should have coffee. Maybe that should go on your to-do list. Because if we prioritize these things, then we will do it, right? We prioritize all these tasks, email, TMT, whatever, right? But we
mhm,
don't prioritize our people.
mm,
And what if I put them on my to-do list, right? Then your boss is coming into the office at some point. They're going to give you another thing to do, but I know that this is on my list is something that I got to do, and I won't miss it because I wrote it down. And so if I had a message for frontline supervisors and senior NCOs, it would be, um, put your people on your list and see what happens for them. That, even if that means let's go just have coffee, because I know recognize Sarah's having on her 8th month of pregnancy, and I just want to see what's the next few months are going to look like for her. You know what I mean? What would that do for her? And it also launches your engagement, builds trust, and so forth. Right? Mm.
For the supervisors out there, a lot of the times they get a brand new airman and you want to build them up. How do you recommend they tap into maybe different aspects of the skills they've mastered, whether it's they are the best proger in the world, but maybe
Hmm.
not the best maintainer, and vice versa, and balance in their teams?
This is funny. When you try to motivate someone, we always say, man, what can I do to motivate this person or that person, right? And you're just you're racking your brain trying to figure out what does it take to motivate them. Except maybe I should just ask them, hey, what motivates you? Right. And now, because of my learning, like from Daniel Pink, where it says that here are these three concepts that most humans fall into in their intrinsic motivation: was autonomy, mastery, and purpose. Okay, what motivates this person is this kind of thing. And so, okay, how can I turn them towards that intrinsic motivation so that I can just stick a quarter in them and let them go? But I think we make this so difficult trying to figure out ways to motivate our people when we could just say, "Hey, what motivates you?" And now your learning can really drive that for them. Again, they feel seen, and and then they can really do some damage for the United States Air Force. To be successful in your career, you have to have these three things, and that is, you have to care. You got to care about the work and the people. You have to have emotional intelligence. To some degree, you have to really, really work on that. Having emotional intelligence, being able to tap into people and understanding how they operate, how to communicate with them, and how to build strong interactions with them. Um, that is a necessity. And then you got to have courage. In today's Air Force, where right now our peer is not the same peer, or it was a near peer during my time, is now our peer, and our Air Force is trying to find ways to be bigger, better, faster, smarter, cheaper, and and we need you to have courage to step up and say we're doing this wrong. And we don't need a program to do that. We just need you to have courage and set the landscape for us to be bigger, better, faster. I know for sure. I've heard it from General Alvin. I've heard it from General Alvin. I've heard it from Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force Flossie saying, you know, cut them loose, let them do it. Find the change agents. Those are his words, quote unquote, from Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force Flossie. Find the change agents and let them fly. And and so, If that's the case, then got to have courage to step up and create the solutions and the innovations that's needed so that we can survive the next war. Can I ask you a question though?
Absolutely, go for it.
Okay, like, what did you think that your senior leaders need, how they need to treat you, right? I mean, you're a person that stepped out. Well, both of you, right? You're stepped out. You're doing
Mm,
things that are outside of the box. What do you need from your bosses so that you can be the best version of yourselves?
I'm gonna steal your words from you, Satch. What the sim staff said, cut them loose. In my career so far, whether it's the ops side of the house or even projects with Sarge, just cut us loose. Trust that we'll put in the work to do good work, and just watch the magic happen.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely necessary. What are your
yeah.
thoughts, Sarge?
What I'm picturing right now is almost like a dog that has like one of the leashes, the electric leashes, and I'm thinking I'm free until I get to a certain point and I start feeling zzz, zzz, what's going on? I thought I was free. I thought I could be myself. And so like if you're gonna allow someone to tap into their experiences, their background, their skill set, let them do it. Still allow us to be us because that's probably what motivated that project, that
Yeah,
idea, that new tool, whatever it is. So yeah, if you're gonna let us go, like
yeah,
commit to it. And don't just give us like, don't give us lip service, give us support because that's really what we're asking for.
yeah,
We
yeah,
know
I
we're not
agree.
going to be perfect in it, and when we're not perfect in it, let's reevaluate and then go straight back with that same level of
Yeah, for
energy. It's
sure.
just that support.
Yeah, because two things, right? If you fail and then they smack you on the back of the head, you will not try again, right?
Yes.
You'll go, okay, I had fun with that. I'm not doing that again,
Hmm.
right? But there's also, here's the chasm. It is that 40% of the people believe that if you want something done right, you'll do it yourself. Okay, that's not military people, that's people in general. 40% of the people,
Mm,
based off a poll that says, if you want something done right, you'll do it yourself. And so, if that's the case, you got just about half of your leaders that don't want to let go of a certain task or the way it's been done for all these times, right? And that's where the courage to step up and say, you got to give me a chance. But in my career, because I was a hot talent, right? I hate saying that like that out loud, but because I was really good at my job, then my boss allowed me that creative freedom, right? And so sometimes people want to just say, give me the freedom, but I haven't shown you, that I can really be disciplined and give you, a good effort. They just want the freedom, and it just doesn't work like that.
right.
Knowing that half of your leaders are not going to relinquish the control,
Mm-hmm.
just understanding that, then you'll have to say, okay, what can I do to, you know, to encourage my boss to trust me enough to step out? And so you can't have it both ways, right? It's, you gotta be able to say, "Hey, man, I do good work. They know it, and that's the reason why they allow me that creative freedom." Ego gets in the way. It's a real thing, right? And it's a
Mm-hmm.
monster. And um, if your leaders decide to say, I'm going to put my ego down and allow my subordinate, my protege to lead the way, I mean, that's a real mature leader, first of all, and super emotionally intelligent to allow that to happen. And so that's what we got to build in new leaders today, to that they could set their ego aside to allow people like you that are moving and shaking to continue to move the ball, because I can only move the ball so far to, to the extent that my knowledge, my skills and ability allow me. But there's
Mm-hmm.
something that's far beyond that level of knowledge, skills, and ability. And that's you all, right? And we got to accept that our egos just get in the way and doesn't allow it.